All right, truth seekers, what's going on? And it is hump day, and probably hump day for people that has a 5-day work week. But for some of us, it's every day, but it's that time. So I just want to acknowledge both sides of the fence. We got a great show for you here tonight, and I think it's something that needs to be talked about. It's one of these things that could fly and go under the radar in most cases, but I think once you see it, you can't unsee it. And today we have my friend Randy here, and I'll give you a little background about him in a few moments. But in the meantime, put the children to bed. As you know, we are not a rated PG show. But however, this is going to be a little lessons of things for you to learn tonight as we get down into the details and talk about some of your favorite movies that Disney has put out. And you're going to love it. It's going to bring you back childhood memories, but not in the way that we wanted to, but only to bring it to your awareness of what has been happening. So with that being said, I hope each and every one of you are excited for where we're about to go. And I'm going to hop right into what we're going to be doing tonight. And listen, it's all about satanic ritual abuse. Let me cut down my little background music here. And because this is just one of those conversations that we definitely want to do it. Now, if you feel uncomfortable in any kind of way or anything that touches you or something brings out some type of memory, there's a lot of places that you can probably get some answers. And one in particular is the gentleman we have here. So just know that his contact information, and he will talk with you and all these, and really he's helped a lot of people with the subject matter we're going to talk about. It's in the description of the video. I have left no way that you cannot find this gentleman. Okay. So that excuse will be gone. It's already gone. But other than that, it takes that initiation. But also, this is just one of those conversations. You know, we've had it here on our show. We've talked about it in so many ways. And so once again, we're going to tie in this conversation into, again, the satanic ritual abuse with some a little bit this little occult bondage, you know, things that are happening out there. So anyway, my guy here is Richard Goodwin. Y'all see him, oh, well, this way if you're looking into the you know, it's on the screen a little bit. And I'll give you a little bit about him, but then I'll let him kind of go into his journey, where it all began. How did we get here today? And where is tomorrow's going to go with some of this content. So if you are familiar with trauma-based mind control, MK Ultra, spiritual warfare, then this is the person that, you know, I talk about it more on the conspirator side and what they're doing and why they're doing it. But he's going to tell you how to break free from some of these things, or if anyone out there that is going to watch this video here in the future. He has firsthand experience when it comes down to walking SRA survivors through what he called, or not what he called, but the healing process, the deprogramming process, because it's all a program. You got to know this. And it goes all the way back to the Babylonian days, or, you know, whatever. And so we're going to discuss that. So Richard, Randy, you know, you're here, and I really appreciate you being here and everything else. And just first of all, just welcome here to our community tonight.
Thank you very much for having me, Roderick. That's very gracious of you, and I appreciate the opportunity. And yeah, hopefully we can talk about some of these facts, some of these issues. How was all this constructed? Where did it start from? You know, and how does it still stay intact in survivors today? You know, the interesting thing is, you know, survivors, after like they'll contact me, they'll say, you know, I've been to like many people to try to get free. And I've been doing this for 10, 20, 30 years. And they just keep going round and round the mountain with little to no success.
Well, you know, I think what's going to really be helpful tonight, Randy, is that, and we talked prior to the show, we talked last week, and, you know, as we set up today, I think the best thing is going to be that aha moment for people who don't know they have been exposed to this and could be operating under some of these programming. And because, you know, that survivor would have to have recognized it or known or at some point, And I think there's a lot of people probably still walking around, especially when we get later on to the conversation of the Disney movies that everyone in here has watched at some point, and their children, and whatever it goes from there. But I think that exposure part and having you to kind of bring that out. And that's why at the beginning, I want people to know if something comes up and something begins to go, wait a minute, that's me, or I remember this, or then I think this is one of those moments there. And so again, I'm just, really privileged to be here with you with this conversation, because I think it's the fabric in a lot of people's lives right now, and we just don't know it.
Yeah, I think we'd be staggered if we could actually see the numbers on how many people are affected in our world today. There's no way to get our percentage or get a printout of X amount per thousand is affected. There's no way to calculate this. And one of the biggest reasons is, the enemy's crafty.
Yeah.
And he has had thousands of years to learn human behavior, to learn how we think, how we process, and all this stuff, in our soul. And over those years, he goes on with technology, and he perfects, I don't want to say perfects, but he just goes along with time to evolve the way he does it. He still uses the same formula. Nothing's changed. It's just that technology's changed. And see, we're born with things. Everybody's born genetically with things. And, the sins of our fathers, as we know, as the scriptures say, are passed down. The enemy tries to perpetuate all these sins of the fathers and keep it going. And this could be and could have been going for 1,000, 2,000 years in somebody's life. And you know what? They may not even know and or recognize that fact of, it's like what you were saying earlier. I've had these thoughts, had some dreams, this recurring thought or dream, but I'm a nice guy. I have a decent job. I function, but I have these weird things every once in a while, and it's repeated. Well, why? Why do we have those? Well, we can be born with things, and you don't have to necessarily be born into a satanic family or a family that practices this on a daily basis. Like I said, you can genetically just be born with this stuff, and it goes down to the RNA and DNA.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't really gather that, and hence where we come up with the Monarch, branding of the programming in the Monarch butterflies, where they discovered this RNA and DNA transfer from the birth of butterflies that they had at one point captured and sent them throughout the world. And unlike a flock of migrating birds, we think they're going back winter for a sap. These particular new babies that were born went back home, and they all specifically went back where they were. And that's, I think, when they discovered, hey, wait a minute, there's memory, or, like you were saying, in our DNA or RNA, it's transferable. Right. And of course, they harnessed the power of that to where we are today, as he was just saying, and to have the to kind of lead into that a little bit. When we talk about it, and most of the people will say this satanic ritual abuse, Randy, is tied more into occult, and which is that's been a conspiracy talk of it. But when we start thinking about it in a everyday basis, and of course we'll get into it in a little bit, what do you think, where this affects people in their everyday lives that goes unnoticed? And before we get to that, let's go back to how you got into this too as well.
Okay, absolutely. Well, probably no different than a lot of people. You go through life. I got divorced, and with that comes situations we bring upon ourselves. We step into things that we shouldn't have stepped in. We open doors that shouldn't have been opened, and we invite things into our life unknowingly sometimes. And I'm no different than anybody else because I did. I invited things in. I was born again believer when I was like about 13 years old. Then I go through life as a teenager. I get rebellious and do all these things. But then it wasn't too long ago. It's about 8-9 years ago. I just got to the point where I knew in my knower that I just wanted to get rid of all this stuff. And I was serious. And that I can't emphasize that fact. You have to be serious with God. If you're just going to not be serious, then you're going to get not serious results. So I got on my knees and I asked God, help me get rid of this stuff. And I got up. Nothing changed. But I kept pursuing it. And he connected me to the proper people that helped me get rid of the things that I needed to get rid of. And I had about 3 or 4 sessions with a couple different people on myself. I got rid of these entities. I got to tell you, it feels good. It feels good to get rid of the entities. And when I got rid of them, Roderick, it was like, you just get this peace. It's just like you can't explain it. It just feels like, like when you've been carrying something, it's like a sack of groceries in from the car, and it's heavy, or plus a gallon of milk and the other, and you go, oh yeah. And by the time you get it inside and set it on the counter, it's like that. That's kind of what it feels like. It's just this weight gets lifted off of you. And when that happened, it's like the Holy Ghost went like this. And he says, now I want you to make other people feel the way you feel right now. I said, yes, sir.
Hey, you know what? I mean, so let me help the audience and I understand when you went and asked for help, when we are talking about satanic ritual abuse, is this something you found out that you have been exposed to this, or are we kind of relating things that led us to this? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, like I said, everybody is born with things from our ancestors. And I mean, everybody, we are born with the sins. We are born with curses. Even if you don't know you are, there's stuff in there. If you can walk on water, okay, great. We can probably listen to you. But if you can't walk on water, then you need cleaning out. That's my own personal opinion. And so, yes, I was born with things because I did not have 2 parents that were perfect. They did not have 2 parents that were perfect. There's sin in my ancestry. My ancestry and lineage sinned. So that gets passed on. And whenever there's sin, there's entities involved. And those entities automatically have a right to go on to the next generation.
Really?
Sin gets perpetuated. And they have a right to do that because the sins of our fathers get handed down.
Wow. So for the audience, in the acronym we're going to use throughout the show, you all, is SRA, Satanic Ritual Abuse. Give us a overall for people to understand, even though the name, when we hear ritual, we hear the name abuse, give the audience an overall, what is this?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We'll take you back and I'll tell you how a mind control slave is created. And then we'll come up to here.
Okay.
SRA stands for Satanic Ritual Abuse. So these are individuals that are born into a family that practices this, and there's a cult in there, of course. And so back in ancient Egypt is where it all started. And in ancient Egypt, they would give these children to Molech as sacrifices. And when they gave them to them, they do that to try to advance their own life and go up the ladder and get higher ranking entities when they do that. So they would sacrifice these children unto Molech. And at the Tower of Babel, Nimrod would sacrifice these children, and he built the Tower of Babel unto Astaroth. And the Tower of Babel means the gateway to where Baal will be revealed to the earth. So they would take a child, and there's a magic book that was written. It's called the Technochronicon, and in there's an actual diagram that gives you the recipe of how to split the mind. So they would take a child. So even before the child is born, okay, they prepare the mother's womb. They take the mother and they will do a ritual over the mother to prepare the womb for the pregnancy. And they will gather their group together, or the coven together, and they will invoke the enemies within the womb to prepare the womb already to have entities in there. So when the pregnancy happens, we've already got entities inside there ready to receive that egg. So they give this womb over to the god of this world. And so we're going to get back to the Tower of Babel in just a second, okay?
Okay. No problem. Yeah.
All right. So when the woman is ready to conceive, they will have a gathering, and there will be many males involved in this gathering. And we all know that there's only an egg can only accept one entry from a male, to fertilize that egg.
Right.
Well, what they're hoping for is a chimera zygote. And what that means is this. We have one egg and it gets fertilized. They're hoping for another egg to come down and get fertilized as well. Because we just don't have deposits from one male. We have deposits from many males. So we have all this DNA going into the womb. And the woman's womb in entry, it absorbs everything that has been deposited in it. That's just the way God created it. And the enemy always uses the scripture, he'll pervert it in some way. So the woman will absorb all this DNA, and all that DNA goes into this egg. So they're hoping for another egg to come down and get fertilized. Well, the stronger egg is what they're hoping for, will consume the weaker egg. Because keep in mind, we already have entities that have entered that egg. And when that second egg gets consumed by the first one, now we have the first murder that has been committed. And they have these rituals to invite the entities in there to make this happen. So when that egg matures and we give birth, they will take this infant and they'll start off like about 3 months old. And they will start doing bad things to that infant.
Yeah.
You know how normal mom and dad will kind of hold their baby and kind of go like this, and, you know, I love you and that. Well, just imagine the opposite. The father will actually hold the baby at a distance like this and say verbally bad things to it. And so what this child hears and what's going into the child's brain is, nobody loves me. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to be there for me. Because this is a repeated thing that they do over and over and over. There is physical abuse that they're going to do to this infant, and the mental abuse, which I was kind of describing to you, that they will do. And all doing this, they invite the entities to come in. And the reason why they have the father hold the child is because the scriptures tell us that the father has spiritual authority over the family. And he has spiritual authority over that child. So by him speaking, he's allowing the entities to come in to that infant. They will do this up until about 3 years old. So from 0 to 3 years old, this infant is incapable of creating an alternate personality. The reason is because the brain is not fully developed. And as an adult, you know, if somebody experiences a trauma or an invasion or a violation of some kind, we have the God-given ability for an alternate personality to step forward, you know, and take that trauma and assist us through that. An infant before the 3 years old does not have that ability. So what happens is the hemispheres of the brain get split. And I'm talking spiritually, not physically. And so they will split that, and we have a real person on each side. Not an alternate personality, but two real people.
Now, would it be the two people that originated from the cells, or now, you know?
No,
because it was born one, you know, in other words, in
right.
Only one egg, right? And so,
correct. Yeah, because we have the life force that comes up through the bottom of our spine to the base of our brain, and which feeds our brain, which makes the effulgence of the life force develop our brain, because our brain goes, you know, from back to forward to develop. And when it's not fully developed, that life force is what I'm talking about, gets separated.
I got you.
And two people are created. And they do it again. And now we've got 4 people that are created. And that creates a 4-face cherub is what it does. And I think it's Revelations 12. It talks about the 4-faced cherub over the face of the earth. That there's one on each part of the earth, the north, south, east, and west. And that's what they want to do with the mind. They put one on each point. Well, they don't stop there. They'll just keep splitting, you know, up to 72 or however many they can get. So this child has the hemisphere split, and there's like a cavern in between. There's like a space, spiritually speaking, in between the hemispheres. And neither one knows what the other one's doing. So basically what's going on, we have a good person on one side, and we have a not so good person on the other side. And they don't really know what the other one does. So back to the Tower of Babel. They built the Tower of Babel unto Astaroth. And Nimrod presented Baal to the world. It's the gateway that he presented. So when they learned to split that mind back in ancient Egypt, they used Genesis 1:16, and that, I'm paraphrasing, but it says God made two lights, one to rule by day and one to rule by night. He's talking about the sun and the moon. Well, the one who's going to rule by day is Baal. And that will be the pyramid that goes up. And the one that rules by night will be Astaroth. And that's the pyramid that's going to go down. So what has been created in this mind control slave or a monarch? There's several words, used to be called the eunuchs, super soldier. That's what the CIA can call it. There's all these different labels, MK Ultra. That you can
Manchurian, is it Manchurian candidate? Or it was a lot of, that was a movie, wasn't it? They did.
Yeah, there's a lot of labels, you could name it. But when they create the mind control slave, it basically is what it does is create like a kaleidoscope. Remember when you're a kid, we had this kaleidoscope you'd look through.
Yeah, all the colors.
All the colors and all the shapes, and you just turn it slightly. And it just like dramatically changes. And it's constantly changing each time you just go like that. Just constantly. It's just like this, whoa, what's going on? Right? Well, I go back to one that ruled by day and one that rules by night. So what is happening? We've got Baal on the presenting conscience. He's ruling by day. And we've got Astaroth, who's going to rule by night. Well, we've got this rotating hemisphere that's constantly moving like this, constantly rotating within the soul of this individual. And in their soul, when it's constantly moving around, it creates like this witch's web that's just so tightly woven. A double helix system is created, and it goes like that. And Lucifer, his light is always on the top. And it's virtually undetectable to most people. And it's hard for most people to dissect this and help these individuals get free of this. Now, you could even take somebody who hasn't been born into a family like I'm describing, and let's just say, for example, there's an infant, one-year-old infant, and for some reason or another, this infant was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it endures just some horrible abuse. Well, the same thing can happen to that soul of that individual as well. Just from being that age and enduring extreme abuse, that hemispheres can get split. It may not create the depth of what I just explained, but nonetheless, it still can create this huge cavern in between, and the person won't even know it's there. Now, you asked me earlier, what are some signs that could potentially be in just like somebody that's, thinks they're just a normal person, right? That goes through life, has got a job, has some reoccurring thoughts and dreams, or this tape seems to play back. I had this memory of something that was of like when I was like 2 years old or something. It was just this bad thought. Well, before the age of 3, all the memories are stored down the intestines. You ever heard of that gut brain word? Well, that's what they're referring to. They're referring to
Okay.
the intestines, because the intestines from 0 to 3 have over 4,000 neurons per square inch. And so the memories are stored down there, and they can be kept down there. Then after about 5, they move up to the heart. And then after about 7, the brain has been fully developed, and it starts sending memories up to the hippocampus. Well, somebody could have a memory that pops in their head once in a while of something that maybe happened way back when. Well, it is possible that something did happen way back then and way back when. And the person could even ask their family about it. And it's really typical for an SRA individual when they ask their family and their mom and dad don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about, son, daughter? They don't remember anything. That's because they were mind control slaves also. And during all this, they had the bad person present during all these rituals and all. So yeah, they don't remember either.
Well, I got a question for you. So we talked about it all starting in the womb. I used to do a lot of research on Monarch programming from the Illuminati side.
Yeah.
And some of the trauma was, even when the baby was in the womb, they will stick pins through the mother.
Oh yeah.
And trauma brace this. Now, from what you led into, from some of these families, how does this, or how can we bring this light to people who are not born to an elite family, who are practicing these rituals? However, on a daily basis, it's a widespread. How can I put it? It's already happening because they got to control society as well, but the techniques are out there. So when most people are hearing this now and they think, well, you know what, my mom and dad don't have no money. They're not elite, so I'm not subject to this. Is that true or false?
You don't have to be super rich to have this going on. The elites and the super wealthy, there's no doubt they're wealthy for a reason. Yeah, we all know that, because the God of this world promotes people. But the average person that doesn't have any money, that has these thoughts and memories, absolutely. See, you can be born with the sins of our fathers and the programs that have happened to, let's just say, somebody 2 or 3 generations prior to you that did go through something like this.
Because it's passed down. All right.
It's passed down. Let's say grandpa, grandma, or great grandma, grandpa, whatever, did experience something like this. Maybe they were in the cult to some degree and they went through some things and some programming came in. Well, yeah, that can get generationally passed down, and you're born with it. You're born with these programs automatically. Nobody said it was fair.
Right.
It's just the sins of our ancestors get passed down, and we can get through it. We can remove it, but you really got to be serious. You really have to be serious. The road is narrow and crooked, and few are going to find it.
So what would be? So if I was to ask someone in my audience tonight, or not ask, but let's give them an aha. How would a aha moment or whatever? How would one of them, somebody right now listening, even get a hint that they may have or is part or been subject to, or DNA has been passed down to them, because people waking up every day in their normal lives, they're watching TV. We're going to talk about Disney, momentarily, or their children or their moms have put them in front of a bunch of Disney TV shows. But still, they go through their lives every day feeling like this and don't know it's because of that. So give me some indicators in the audience, some indicators that they probably just don't know that somewhere along the way, those sins has been passed to them.
Well, a big one is Freemasonry.
Okay.
Is there anybody in your lineage that was involved in Freemasonry? And even at the Master Mason level, which is only like number 3. That's not very high, but even at that point.
And that's pretty common. Yeah.
That's very common. There's millions of people that were Masons, because the Masons, they go all the way back. And the Masons actually go back to the Book of Thoth, which is a magic book. And that's where the Book of Thoth is where they get the geometry and the compass from. That's where Freemasonry gets, that square and compass that you see on their symbol.
Right.
That's where they get that, is from the magic Book of Thoth. And these sins from all the way back, like I said, it perpetuates and keeps handed down. So anybody in Masonry, they've given themselves and they vowed this to the God of this world, to give their entire family line over to the God of this world.
But even if someone, let's say someone was born into this lineage.
Yes.
And they were adopted out. Now they over here, but have no knowing that this blood pact has been made generations for them.
Yeah. They don't know anything about what happened in their lineage, but yet something's not right up here.
Something's not right. That's what I meant. Okay. Yeah.
They're just not feeling right. Something isn't right. Well, you have to be serious before God, and you just have to ask the Lord to take you to the correct person to get what's going on up here identified and cleaned out. Because if something's not right, something's not right. And if the whole idea of I call it getting cleaned out, is so we can have a closer relationship with Christ. That's the bottom line. And if anything is holding you back from having that closer relationship, then we got to get rid of some things. Maybe it's just things you can do on your own maybe you develop some habits knowingly. And maybe you need to adjust your own personal life. But, you've tried, you've done this, you've prayed, you've fasted, you go to church, but there's something in there that is just not right, and you know it. Well, yeah, you got to seek out the correct person, and you got to be serious. And God will lead you to the correct person. So that is one indicator, the Freemasonry. And another is there anybody in your family, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, great grandma and grandpa, or, even a close relation? Was anybody involved in the occult? Did anybody practice? That is another indicator that gets passed down, because that can be passed down. And with being involved in the occult, they want to have all of those sins be intact and also move on generationally. And they give themselves and everybody over also. So that is another way it can automatically be passed down. Absolutely.
Right. Well, I guess I would probably, for myself personally, as I think about our conversation, and again, we would a person, and maybe there's people watching us right now, Randy, that may be thinking, my mom and dad is not in a cult.
Mm-hmm.
My, I don't, the Freemasonry, and they haven't done a, whatever that, what's the thing, the DNA to find their lineage. They're not done a
Yeah. Trace.
a chart, right? And but you and I talked about, and I guess it'll segue us into that now, that what better way to put it out there? We'll tie into Disney, right? And we know that you, myself, thousands, millions, just about everybody in here and out there have watched a Disney movie. So, and I'm putting this into two separate categories because, all right, over here we got the elite. We know why they did it. We know why they offering these sacrifices. They doing it from power, and it's
Right.
just been a systematic thing that's been going on. And but over here, the innocent person who has not, that we alluded to a while ago, that is not wealthy. Because where I'm getting at this is, I don't want somebody to walk away from this show and say, "Oh, Roderick, that R&R, like Rolls Royce, our logo R&R.
Yeah.
Roderick and Randy is just crazy because I don't have no people in this. I don't, and I want people to understand this thing is global. The ritual or the abuse or the system, so to speak.
The system.
The system, yeah, let's go with that. The system is also a global plan that's out there because, like you said, the
Very
God
much.
of this world is not just the tentacles is out there.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what country.
Yeah.
It's every country in the world.
Yeah. And so let's tie it into what role does Disney play in this?
So when a mind control slave is created, the enemy will hide the programming within themes
Okay.
or worlds or like a cartoon theme of some kind. And Disney is a classic one where the enemy, and I mean what I mean by enemy, entities place that in there because Disney, back in the day when they were created, they gave themselves over to the God of this world to be used and dedicated themselves. So all the productions that are made have already been given over to these entities to allow them to come into people's lives. So when we just innocently turn the TV on and our children are watching them, there is subliminal programming within these cartoons that go into your subconscious. And that's where the programming lies. It's deep within your subconscious. It just doesn't stay up here, in the conscience frontal cortex where we're talking about. It goes deep in the subconscious. And there's a lot of things in these Disney cartoons that you don't see, that subliminal messages are transferred in. And there's a lot of things that just children shouldn't see. Yeah. Sometimes you can slow it down. There's actually some videos that have been done where they break it and you can see images that flash up of different human parts.
Yep. I've seen that in a lot of the
Little Mermaid's got it. I know that.
It was who was the Simpsons too, a little bit. And I have the script of which movie is this? This is I think we just went into it a little bit, but it's I think it's Fantasia here. And I have every part of that script that they use to program it, and you can go to that scene within the movie and you will see because you're aware of it.
Wow. Nice.
Of the programming that they're doing in the kids. Yeah. I have it minute by minute, second by second of the whole point. And Fantasia is one of the great ones because this is why they release it every 5 years, so they make sure they reach all of the the generations, you know.
There
So
you
it's
go.
just like a release. But the other part about that, and you and I discussed it, because I'm probably sure my mom used a Disney movie as a babysitter and put me in front of it for a few hours while she went in another room or something. You know, just
We all
whatever,
have.
because
Yeah.
it's entertaining. I know I put my kids in front of here, watch this and watch your favorite movie and the meanings and the stories. And of course, the rumor has it Disney ties all the way back to the original bloodlines of the Illuminati, and it just keeps going in secret societies.
Right. You know, Walt Disney was a Mason also.
Yeah, he was part of that. Yeah.
So he gave him, that's why he gave himself over and everything he did.
And in fact, right here in the 102.5 minutes of Fantasia, it says right here, Satan begins raising the dead skeletons. This provides a foundation layer in the valley of the dry bones, coming alive with armies of skeletons. So they already, this is embedded in this movie. In a minute and 6 seconds, the demons continue to dance with powerful Satan watching over them. And when you watch this, you would then see it. You know, it's right there. And so I have every minute to minute the whole thing of here. And it's just kind of weird when you read this. At 107, it says Satan is portrayed by Disney, you know, all his evil, dark majesty, you know, so it's like in the bells ring, the demon sleeks away. And so it's all, this is the script. This is their actual script, but we don't see that part, but our children do. We did. And it's in a musical. It's entertaining. It's alluring. It has all of this. It's the babysitter. Right.
You know, and see, here's the part spiritually that we take for granted, you know, and I know, you know, most of us are guilty. You know, we throw our kids in front of the set, turn those cartoons on, and away they go. But when we put them in front of that set and let these tapes play, we have given permission to that broadcast and to all those entities, you know, like the script you just read. We give permission for that now to go into our child.
Yes.
Because we have legal authority over them as a child. So we're just saying, yeah, come on into my kid. What do I care? You have permission. I mean, if we really knew what the kind of things that we take for granted and overlook, just like what we're talking about right now about these cartoons. And, you know, that's just one of them, because there's a myriad of them now. You know, cartoons that made in the 50s and 60s used to be pretty innocent appearing. They used to appear innocent. They still had this in there though. But nowadays, they just increase in their demonic activity.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing.
I had a friend of mine, we were talking on the phone just prior to the show. I was telling you were going to be on, and we was having a conversation, and she brought up one of my favorite movies, because I always tell people I do this little Scooby-Doo, like, and she said, well, you know, Shaggy, Scooby-Doo, and, you know, that van, and, you know, portraying marijuana and smoking, and, you know, they were high. And I was like, you know what? Now that I go back and think about it, that was the whole thing, you know, and Scooby snacks, you know, it was like the whole thing. And it's been right there the whole time. And someone in the audience just mentioned, you know, Harris, you know, Tom and Jerry. But you go back to all of these shows.
Yep.
What better way that a cartoon appears to be innocent, right? And yet it's the most lethal way of them doing it, because they're entering the children's mind as we are a child. Of course, at this point, you know, getting us early, or people early, so that they can do this. And we may think of it, I will say, and correct me, if I'm wrong with this or I'm off a little bit, but we may think of the SAR rituals, and we're thinking of it. And when people hear the word abuse, some of them may think it's some physical things, not mental. Yeah. And they don't understand, of course, the fragment, like you said, you know, these personalities or these different minds, and one mind don't know what the other one exists until to whatever that trauma point that was programmed activates it or brings it forward, and the other one moves behind. And I think you get that a lot because I've been married before. And I'm not saying this just in case she's watching and her attorney or something come back. We've been divorced a long time, but there was times that you sit there and you having this argument, and how many times many of us walk away and like, who the hell was that? Or who the heck was that? You know, it's like, where did that come from? And it's almost eyes and personality can switch in some of these abuse situations.
That's right. That's right. You're right.
And really it's that altar. It's that programming moving. It accesses, and then that other one comes in, and you'll get it. A lot of people will tell you, I didn't know I said that. Yeah, you did. You told me that. You said this, and they don't know because it's split, like you said, and the two, they're not one. They're two separate altars there.
You know, and back to the cartoons that we give legal authority for our kids to watch. They originally called these TV programs. Yep. You know, here's your next program that will come on. Well, that's exactly what it started out to be, is a program. Yeah. Because they came out, their intention was to program the children. And that's exactly what happens because, you know, like you're saying, that script is read and it plays and it goes into the subconscious of that child.
Yep.
And it builds a foundation and things get built. And when this child becomes an adult, they have an argument with their spouse.
And it's like they're using the principle of Jesus of bring up a child, he's going to come up in those ways. So they're like, well, let's catch him early. So we can program. It's like.
That's exactly right. If you just take the scripture, you know, raise a child up in the way they should go. And when they're old, they won't depart. Well, the enemy takes that scripture and talks you into putting your kid in front of that idiot box to get them programmed. So if we can get the kids, we can get the children, because they're going to be more apt of receiving information than an adult is. Now, when they become adult, they're going to have issues and problems.
Yeah, it is. And here on this script, that right in the first 5 seconds, it says the instruments begin to play. The musicians are silhouettes which cast shadows up on the wall. The next word is, now the altars, which is already there, will often see themselves in this fashion too, and merely as a shadow or merely as a silhouette. And so that as soon as the movie started, it's going right in there, and it's already activating probably things that was already programmed by another movie or something, you know.
Right. Yeah. And you see, it's really interesting because I just think as today's society, we're numb and we're complacent. We take so many things for granted and we overlook so many things. As a believer, if you truly believe in the true Lord God and Father, it's not easy. You have to put you got to put a lot of effort into keeping yourself and your family protected. That's why they call it the good fight of faith. It's a fight every day. Every day we're in a fight.
I'm going to close this book because it says at 15 minutes right into the movie, the Kabbalistic tree is shown, the tree of life is shown and is made with lights. And then the many colors of the ribbons are flashed up on the screen real quickly. And then a compass, which we know is Masonic image, is very quickly flashed on the screen. You know, this is in the movie and we're all done seeing this, you know, so.
It's interesting because, you know, Kabbalah, that form of witchcraft, that goes all the way back to ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
All the way back there.
Oh man, it's tough.
Yeah. It, you know, talking about it just on, you know, as a parent and a child level. Yeah. I think we take a lot of things for granted. And as a parent, it's our responsibility to protect that child spiritually and emotionally. And we're going to be held accountable for what we have allowed to go into our child's mind.
And see, we talk about that a lot in our audience. You know, I always tell them your eyes are useless when your mind is blind. And when I first started this show, Truth versus Authority, authority was more or less, okay, we have to make sure truth is truth. And authority, you know, and we might place that authority in figures, but now it has evolved. Authority is the mind. That's the whole war. Because that is the part where all of this is done. And in here, there was a place here, and I've already read the script. I was going to try to flip to it, but there's one part that I'm going to challenge the listeners to go get the movie, watch that moment, the minute that I said. But there's a part in here where they tell the children to not listen to your parents. It's encoded in here. But yet we sit them down in front of it, right?
We sit them down in front of it.
We sit them down in front of it. It's telling them, you know.
And we wonder why there's so much problems in our public schools.
Yeah. So so it's kind of, it's crazy. Yeah. And they go through all that. So let's go into at this point, let's move into today, society. Where is this affecting people in their everyday lives? Outside of they just know something is off in their relationship. Maybe they're talking to their spouse. Maybe they're talking to their boss. Maybe they wonder why they don't have that right relationship with their kids or friends, or because somehow along the way, this program. And you would think, okay, if you program, I'm programmed, we both gonna get along. We're gonna run the system. But
quite the opposite, actually.
The opposite, right? So let's go into that if you can take us there.
Yeah, well, you know, like I said, it's my conviction that everybody needs to be cleaned out, because nobody's perfect. Everybody's born with stuff, and we go through our life and we automatically open doors that we shouldn't have opened, and that invites things in. So we need to be cleaned out. So first and foremost, you got to get yourself cleaned out, because you can't help anybody else.
Yeah.
Until it's like, you know, when they tell you when you're on an airplane, make sure your vest is intact, you know, before you try to help somebody else.
You put that oxygen mask on yourself first. Yeah.
Yeah. That oxygen mask on yourself. So it's the same thing. We have to help ourselves and get ourselves cleaned out. And when we start getting cleaned out, it's like the scriptures tell us we have blinders on our eyes, you know, and when these blinders start to come off, we can see more clearly. Up until that point, it's harder to see. But when you get things start to getting taken out, you can see more clearly, and you can see what the true Lord God actually has for your life, and the love that he really has for you, and what he wants you to do for your family. And you could do that. Didn't say it was easy.
Yeah.
It's really hard to admit that we're not perfect, that we're going to live forever. You know, I don't have a problem. What are you talking about? I go to church, got a good job. I don't cuss at my kids. You know, you can check all those boxes. But if you don't have that close relationship with Christ, then we need to get some things cleaned out. And everybody needs to. Because we need to train up our kids to have that and desire that close relationship with Christ, so they can be productive adults, and they can teach their children to do the same. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, you know, because we talked about it here for a while when it came to, you know, slaves and you know, or the butterflies, or again the Monarch programming, you know, and how all of this works. And in fact, even in our private area, we talk about the Monarch Keystone method, where we kind of we try to go with this reversal of this thought of this, you know, this is, and then you'll be surprised, when you bring something up and people be like, wow, man, this is just, it's happening every day, TV, social media, and we're perpetuating it because we just think it's normal things to do. But they have set this in motion, or the snares, I call it, to the traps are out there, or to keep people compliant, the obedience code, to whatever the system is. What I would like to do first is just kind of get you to tell the audience what you do for people, right? That have, because I'm still kind of lost, me personally, and that's just me. There ain't nobody here but me and you. And I'm just still kind of lost of when we know someone that there are a survivor of it, at what point do they find out? And again, unless they start doing what? They start doing their family, history and going, wait a minute, what's this black robe my grandfather wore?
Yeah.
What is this picture with this symbol? What is that upside down? It's like they begin, because here I wear my protection sigils, because when I started exploring down this stuff, I didn't want it to affect, because I'm looking at it either way, and I know it's going to bypass my conscious, because I'm looking at it, I'm reading this stuff,
Right.
And so I just started going, okay, let's just make your circle of protection as you begin to understand it the best you can. And of course, I believe in Jesus Christ. So you still have your ground level, because I'm out here not promoting, but bringing people into awareness, and could not, inadvertently delivering that information for the enemy, but instead, so I just kill it when it comes out of my mouth, because I'm just making sure, but I'm going to say, hey, you gotta check this out. And so when we talk about somebody who is a survivor and they contact you,
mm-hmm.
At what point did they get to know, like I said, to find out, like, wait a minute, my mother and father was that guy? You know what I'm saying? And now they're up in ends. And then we'll have some questions, because I know we'll get you out of here for that, but I'll let the audience ask some questions. So I just want to kind of lead into, so however people come to you and then you begin to help them, somebody just may say, wait a minute, that's where I need to go.
So somebody that was been born into an SRA family, they know.
They know. Okay.
They
know.
They just know. They're
yeah.
They go through life. They're an adult. The soul, the brain is just.
And they're probably going to find out when their father tells them, hey, by the way, when you and Jack have your kid, we need to take him over to this place. Yeah. Or something. You got to do this now too.
Yeah. Someone that's born in a family, they just know. Yeah. And, let's say that somebody, like I said, maybe on a lighter note, they weren't necessarily born into the family, but they had some involvement with maybe somebody that was as a young child.
Like you said, they wouldn't know, because when it's the elites, it is heavily ritualistic, like you said. So they already know. Once they just discover what it is, they'll remember they've been through that.
They remember, and they'll have the memories that come back, and you're going to have a repeated memory that keeps coming back, and it's going to get more vivid. And if you start asking the Lord to give you the truth that will stand on the day of judgment on the great white throne, say that. If you have repeated memories after you say that prayer, then this stuff needs to be cleaned out.
Yeah.
And these worlds need to be removed that have been created, because that's where the programming is hidden, and that's where it stays. Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So if you guys have anybody have any questions, make sure you put just put a Q in front of your sentence or your question, so it'll alert me and I can put it on the screen so that Randy could answer it as well. And that'll give us some time, because sometimes there's some delay. And so is there anything that we haven't mentioned, but is important for people to understand. I mean, outside of, we know that this is generational. It could come way back there. But outside of that, to get them to begin to seek and question, and then begin to get rid of these demons and things. Is there anything else that is another important factor? And for those that somebody could be pregnant right now, I'm about to have a little baby, and I already got the room with Disney posters all over it, you know?
Well, yeah, you pray over your pregnancy for one.
Okay.
And, you know, it's best to have the father pray, because father has spiritual authority. If the father isn't in your life, then you pray over that pregnancy. You pray over that baby, and you commit that child to the Lord. Cut off any generational curses over that child within the womb, all the way back to Adam and Eve on the mother and the father's side. You just say, I cut them off, cut them off. I cut every generational curse off of my child within my womb on their mother and father's side, all the way back to Adam and Eve.
Yeah, yeah.
With the sword of the Spirit.
Man, that'll be like, could you imagine? And there's a question on the screen. I don't know if you can see it then, or I'll read it. But could you imagine just, and this is not humorous, y'all, but just think about people that go to a sperm bank.
Right on.
You know, and then just bring that into this world and have, and you would think if you were one of these entities, that will be one place that you will make sure you plant yourselves to be reborn at, you know, to come in, you know?
Yeah, because, you know, you get somebody is born into this family. Remember I was talking about how they're created within the womb?
Yeah.
You get the DNA of more than one father.
Yeah.
Within that child. And so like a sperm bank is what you're talking about. All this DNA gets mixed in as well.
Yeah, and they go in and pick one and don't know the lineage of that, but yet it's deliberately done by the entities of, hey, let's put this out here. So a question says, what can one do to get help if they feel that they're dealing with this?
Okay, yeah, I see a Brandy. Well, what you have to do, first thing, you have to ask the Lord to lead you into all truth. And you want to make sure that, you know, because sometimes we just want, some people just want attention. But if you're actually feeling that you're dealing with, or you are an SRA individual and you're having all these memories and things that come up, ask the Lord to connect you with the correct person, whether that's me or whoever he wants to connect you with. Interview that person. Ask him how he does this. What are the expectations? And then after you interview them, ask the Lord if this is the correct person for you. If you think you are dealing with this, then you're going to see occasional worlds that pop into your mind. Could be a Disney theme that we discussed before, or a cartoon. Yeah. And so on. But I want you to know there is hope. This can be removed, and you are truly loved. You truly are loved, even though you don't feel like it, and even though you don't trust anybody. Absolutely. Yeah,
There's
see this
another
other
question on the screen.
Yeah. About people that are abused by the church. Well, you'd be surprised at how common this is in churches. I minister to individuals who have gone to church where the pastor is a pastor or priest, whatever his label is, on Sunday morning. And then Friday night, he's a Satanist.
Yeah.
And this is abuse. And they will abuse these people. They'll abuse these SRA survivors and create them even in this atmosphere.
Yeah, I tell the audience, or I just allude to that, you know, we talk about mouse traps, so you can imagine that some of these churches are, they already know where a lost soul is going to go, or being told by, most people to go get help. Why not set up your trap there in some cases? All right, we have another question there on the screen.
Oh, yeah. Proof. Do you have any proof, Randy? Well, everybody I minister to, I keep extreme confidentiality. I keep this professional confidentiality. I don't expose anybody's name at all because I want their privacy protected. But I can give you some stories that I have experienced. One gal, I just talked to her earlier today. She was a trafficked survivor, a high level traffic survivor with highest level politicians. She was born with this programming, and she was also in the family that installed it. They went through all this. Well, she's about 50 now, and we had to take all this stuff and pull it all down. And it doesn't take years to get it cleaned out. It really doesn't. Maybe a few months. And if you want proof, you want a piece of paper or something that you're handing out, I understand that you don't trust anybody. I understand you have extreme doubts. That's normal. And you've earned that right because you've endured all this. That's not fair. But at some point, you're going to have to trust somebody. That's why I go back to you should pray that prayer to the true Lord God and have him connect you to that correct person.
All right, Brandy has another question up there.
Can a doctor trigger the programming in you by making you read something? Oh, 100%. 100%. Within a mind control slaved, and this could be somebody that has inherited through a relative from the government, CIA or something, this programming it's brought out by two cues, not a trigger, but a cue. There's a verbal cue and there's a visual cue that will bring and trigger up that altar to come out and perform the mission or the act that they want to have accomplished. It could be they want someone to disappear off this earth, or they want you to perform service for somebody, or what doesn't matter what it is. Absolutely, a doctor can do this. Even doctors, I've even heard of dentists doing this to individuals. Or the dentist hypnotize people while they're out, and they can do this.
She says she needs to talk to you 100%. All of his information is, Brandy, right now is in the description of the video. It's in there, everything. Yeah. Even if any of you want to support his ministry and what he's doing, Cash App is there, just everywhere you can support, however you want, or make contact and maybe tell them how or what. It's all in the description of the video, so you guys will be able to do that. If you got any more questions, put a Q before we're running. We're probably going to get out of here in a few more moments. So I just want to make sure that, and if you already had a question, definitely some of the new people, if you got a question, now will be the time to put a Q. Then whatever your question, so it'll alert me to put it up from there.
I would like to say, if you are an SRA survivor, or you're born into an occult family, I understand that you don't trust anybody because you were taught not to. I understand that you don't really know what true love is because you weren't shown that. But I do want you to know that you can trust Jesus You can trust him. So you ask him. You ask him to lead you to the correct person, and he will. And he will. There is hope. You are truly loved. You are.
All right. So with that being said, Randy, I really appreciate you coming out tonight, and just giving us just the opportunity to, because I always talk about it from a conspiratorial side. That's just what I do. But from the real life side in healing, then, this just add to the information that I think people could see. And I know you and I talked about maybe someday next week or so, or whenever in the future, coming into our uncensored area, because there's things that we can't say here on live on the air that we make and really, really get deep into and let people really know, because, guys, we just can't say everything here on this channel.
Right.
Yeah. And especially when they may be the one controlling.
Yeah. When I talk, like I'll talk.
Yeah.
I try to talk very, universal in my speech, but I hope everybody gets the point, of what I say.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they're accustomed to that when we're here and pretty much, but these are one of these things that I think that as this video is watched and more people start watching it again or thinking about some of the things, they'll come back to the reference point and they'll reach out to you. You're not going to get people just putting their stuff up here, but in the brave ones, like Brandy, and I really appreciate you need to talk with him. And so I'm already proud of you, Brandy, too, just already put that up there in the chat. And that's what we're here for. And just this one moment, if you were that one person that was supposed to watch this tonight, then I'm glad I did my job, a part of it. And now we're going to pass the ball over to Randy, and he got you. And then, of course, he won't fail you, but like you said, go to the top. And then,
absolutely.
But, all right. Is there anything else? Otherwise, I just appreciate you being here. Anything coming up, any events or any thing that, just for people to contact you?
People can contact me even if they just want to say hello. I'm open to all that. I do meet people all the time, and that's kind of just what I do. I'm just kind of a in the trench worker that just wants to help people, and that's just what I do. And I don't have any major events coming up. I'm not going to go to some place and speak in front of millions of people, because this message isn't one that makes you popular, Yeah.
Well, she said it's been a horrible 2 years for her. It literally happened 2 years ago, she's saying. So.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, Randy. If it was just a one-time event, that's different than being an SRA survivor or something that happened a couple of years ago. Maybe it happened more than once, but that definitely can create altars in our mind to be created and have all these, going back and forth, 100%.
All right. Well, Brandy, like I said, his information is there, and definitely find it. All right, Randy. Well, appreciate it, and we'll talk. I'll give you a call tomorrow, and we'll just talk on the phone and just do an overview, and I'll give them some outage here, and we'll do that. Or we can text each other and call each other after the show or whatever. But otherwise, tomorrow I'll reach out to you. So,
God bless you. Thank you, brother.
Thank you as well. All right. So once again, y'all, that's Randy Goodwin. Make sure you check out he has a YouTube channel. He's on YouTube, or he's on there a lot. And, but there's all the websites, all the information is in the chat of the video. Cause I always tell y'all when we talk about these things and more of the Illuminati, and now you have a real life scenario approach. And like I said, there's a lot of things he could not just say here. So whether you wanted some really in-depth descriptions and things, it just can't work like that. Y'all already know that. You're in this community that we do, but you're welcome to reach out to him, and the email address, or just everything is there. Like I say in the chat, I mean, the description of this video, because sometimes, you know, you're going to ponder and think about some of the part of this conversation. And we wanted to make sure, and so for sure, to heighten the fact that this programming is right there in our faces. And then there are people still doing it today. Disney stuff is very popular. It's very, very popular. And so we have to understand that when we look at these things, to begin that process to really just come to an understanding. My job is to give you enough information you can hear, see, and read and listen to and learn, to awaken your curiosity to the possibility that it could be you, could be us. But one thing we all know as we get ready to leave here, we all were born, and we all have people that came before us, and we have not met them. We don't know what they was up to 100 years ago, and they just may have passed something down that we don't know about. So it's worth us looking into that and believing that for sure. But it has nothing to do with you. It's not about you. We're not talking to you. We're just talking for you. So, you know, y'all, I love y'all. You know that. I love this audience. I love what I do. I love each and every one of you. And, you know, to each and every one of you, you know, I'll be back tomorrow, 8 o'clock. But in the meantime, this is one of those sensitive conversations that we would have. All right. So y'all take a like, and I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Make sure y'all like and share the video. Okay. And then if you got comments after this, make sure you post them. Moderators, stay on the mods and all of that. And pretty much peace out. And I'll see y'all later. And Randy, I'll see you in a second in the back. Hold on.
Why did Ruby shoot Oswald? Was there a conspiracy?
In a world shrouded in darkness and obscured by deception from the big secret keepers, a burning question ignites in the hearts and minds of truth seekers. Why? Let's dive into the abyss of the unknown. Challenge the limits of our understanding.
This bizarre sequence of double killings raised great questions. Who actually fired the shot that killed Kennedy?
Pierce the veil of secrecy.
Cattle found dead and the manner of their deaths are a real mystery.
Anyone who is concerned about lead in the drinking water in Flint.
And venture into the realm of conspiracies and extraterrestrial evidence.
A huge explosion now, raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way.
Let us consider the question, why the big secret?